probably board them out against Abrupt Decay decks because, and then they don't necessarily board out their Abrupt Decays, and then the only thing that they can Abrupt Decay in my whole deck is maybe a Snapcaster Mage, which feels great. Yeah, I would just board out the Braids and bring in some Spice, really, is what I would do. I'd bring in the Verdict. Let's see. You're saying black-green? Celestial would come in. Verdict would come in. Yeah, I would just board out the Braids. But it's Gemstone Array is what I was talking about. You board out the Braids, and then you board in Purge, Verdict. Depends on whether or not they have spell skites they're going to board into. Maybe you want the Twisted. I don't really want Pact of Negation if I'm taking out Braid. It depends on the variant. There's really no black-green. It's going to be Jund, so it's probably a core Firewalker match. You know, maybe there's one other card I don't like in the matchup. Aurelius Fury becomes a lot less powerful, whereas Sphinx is still, I think, fine in that matchup. Unless they're like a Lingering Soul variant, unless they're like Junk. If they're Jund, I don't think I want the Aurelius Fury either, so probably side out this 5 and bring in that 5, depending on whether or not we think he has spell skites. You probably do this. I don't even know if I really like Dispel in that matchup either. If there's another card we could bring in, I don't know what. Let's see, Kolaghan's Command. They like to do a lot of shenanigans with Kolaghan's Command and reanimating and returning, like... I feel like if you Surgical, they're going to try to Fulminator Mage us to hell, right? So maybe the Surgical comes in instead of Dispel, although Dispel, again, fights really well with Kolaghan. Maybe you go down one Think Twice because you boarded out the Braids. And you keep the Dispel. I mean, like, if you're going down Braids, like, the Think Twice becomes more normal. It becomes more, I'm going to have to actually pay full mana for this instead of getting the Braids to pay for all the colorless portions. Like, I think we'd have to fight more like a normal blue-white-red against Abrupt Decay decks, Yozis. Yeah. Other than that, I don't think people are going to interact with it, and that's why I'm kind of excited about this engine, because it comes down early and people, they're not going to be able to bolt it. You like the Dispel? I think it maybe would be this 6 for this 6. I think the Aurelias and maybe one Think Twice. 2 Firewalkers if we think he has... Like, card for card, I think it's the Firewalkers, absolutely, and the Purge and the Supreme immediately. And then if you want to board in more cards, it's maybe the Aurelia's out for the Surgical. And if you want to play around the opponent's potential of spell skites, you bring in the Twisted for maybe a Think Twice. Oh. Alright guys, I'm going to actually close her down this time. Let's do another closing song, a different one. It's a good closing song here. I do feel exhausted though, stream. I tried. I did try. Last Dance. Let's play the Last Dance. Last Dance. Oh, we had some great music coming up though. It's fine. It's time to go to bed. So that's probably how I would board Yozis. No, great question. I mean, some people they're going to be skeptical. They're going to say Braid. Okay, well, Abrupt Decay. If you're going to run anything other than pure blue-white-red is another way to run it. I don't really like pure blue-white-red because, well, I have my reasons. I don't think I'm that proficient with the deck that I can pull off pure blue-white-red. Pure blue-white-red does this. Instead of running this kind of package, they're going to run maybe 1 to 2 Think Twice. They're going to maybe run not the Pearl Lake. So these 8 cards would turn into the second Rev. These Braids turn into the other Cryptics. And then you get 4 cards worth of Spice. Maybe you main deck a Chronos. Maybe you're that guy. I don't like main deck Chronos. I think you should be very focused. you're going to run electrolyze, things like electrolyze. So let's curve it. So that's the second, that's the playset of Cryptic, maybe 3 Snapcaster. Like the deck recurves, obviously without braid, the deck recurves, it reshapes. They probably don't run Logic Knot, unfortunately. I think it's really cool. I think they should, because they don't really run Delve spells, right? I really think they should run a 1 of Logic Knot. I really loved it. They probably go up to the playset of Path. Yeah, that's probably exactly what it looks like, actually. Oh, and the bolts, of course. That's probably what would happen if I owned the playset of Cryptic, I suppose. And maybe 2 Sphinxes. Is it like the pieces realign and then you try to just be a pure control, purely burn, so you need the extra burn, so that's where the electrolyze comes in. So I guess the engine that they run that I don't necessarily think I want to run is the electrolyze. Have I seen the Emiria control deck? I have, Duffman. I don't think it's necessarily very good, though. But it's definitely innovative. I like it for that reason, Duffman. I guess I don't think it's very good because it seems like it's trying to do something very mediocre in a turn 4 format. And that's again, that's my criticism with classic blue, white, red burn, and that's why I think the Braidifier actually speeds up what the deck's trying to do. And I've never, when I've played this variant, I have messed around with this variant where it's just like the 4 Cryptics. I've messed around with this in paper once. A buddy of mine lent it to me for like a tournament. And I wasn't very proficient with the deck, and I think that's the deck that deserves a lot of practice, day in, day out practice. Like, if you're going to play like a Legacy, like if you're going to play like Legacy Miracles, I think the deck deserves practice. It deserves understanding all the components, you know. If you're going to turn the Pearl Lake into the 4th path, you're going to turn the 2 Think Twices into, what did we say, extra... What is this? Extra, like, dispels or snares is what I think these become. No, I think you still run Think Twice. No, I think it does still curve like this. Yeah. No, that looks more correct. Any robot pod action? Earlier, Alex, we did. But no, so let me curve one more time as the Braidifier. I think the cool thing about the Braidifier is it shifts everything up full steps. Like, everything just moved, like, the whole deck just curves, like, so differently from typical blue-white-red control. And the ability to animate multiple colonnades, much less animate colonnade and have something like a Cryptic or a counterspell behind it, is mind-blowing. I've never been able to do that before in any sort of blue-white-red shell I've ever made. Colonnade is literally the last resort. In this deck, it's proactive. That's a huge difference. Let me say it one more time. I've played many different variants of Blue White Red except for Kiki Angel. I understand the basic concept. I've never played it. I've played Gifts. I've played Pure Control. I've never played a Blue White Red control deck in Modern that felt like I could proactively use my Colonnades. Colonnade always felt like a last resort. It feels like a last resort. It feels like the last thing you want to be doing with your mana. There's always something you should be doing elsewhere. Whereas with this deck, it's like, no, I can be proactive with this card because this just alleviates the mana cost issues of Colonnade, animating the Colonnade. It's just like, boop, gone. Not worried about it. You can absolutely afford blue-white. It's like, okay, blue-white, 4/4 hits you. It's just, it feels amazing. I wish you guys could have seen it earlier. If you just hopped in stream, you probably think I'm crazy. But I've never had a deck that was so proactive with the Colonnades. The Helixes become cheaper. The Perlite becomes just blue-blue. The Snapcasters become cheaper if you want them to be. They don't have to be. Think Twice becomes cheaper. Relia's Fury becomes single white. Sphinx's Rev becomes just 3 mana. You can see Crucible because of the Bloodbraid. Oh, run some land destruction. I do own a Crucible. That's very spicy of you to think, Alex. The problem is the unless you run something bad like that one artifact, which I'm not going to run, I want to operate entirely instant speed other than Braid, Bribery. Like, I want the sorcery speed interactions to be very, very limited. I want it to literally just be Verdict, Bribery, Spellskite, Stony, and Firewalker. I want everything else to be instant. Everything. Everything possible. So the only things I ever want to be tapping out for, Braid. And then these sideboard cards. And they have to be game-breaking. Like, the Stony coming down has to be like, yep, you're done. The Spellskite, you're done. Bribery, you're done. If we're bringing in Bribery, the Bribery better kill them. It better bring in an Emrakul or something big, like a Grizzlebrand. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Like, I want the package that I'm tapping down for to be very limited. Very limited. Does it make sense? No, I really like how the deck curves once you put in the braids. I'm very pleased with how it's curving when you put in the braids. Especially now, like, look how it's curving. Look at that, it's gorgeous. Look. Slightly more stuff here than here. Normally, Blue-Eye Red is heavier on the 2s than it is the 1s, but once Braid of Fire is online, we curve like this and it feels great. No, it's Jeskai Fire. Braid of Fire, Jeskai Fire. No. Blue-White Red Flash is already a deck name, Alex. This is Jeskai Fire. It's a spawn deck. I just wish there were more cards out of the board that I could pump the Braid into. The Braid mana. But Colonnade enjoys it. Helixes, Bolts all love it. Think Twice really enjoys it. You gotta see how that... It's amazing. Like, you go turn 1... Colonnade or turn 1 kill something, you know, the path, well, hopefully you didn't have to path. Maybe you turn 1 Dispelled, Spell Snared, or Bolted, or Colonnade. Those are our best turn 1s. You really don't want to path turn 1. Turn 2, you slam Braid, and you're like, okay, go. You're like, okay. Maybe they sneak something through, okay? Worst case scenario, maybe they snuck a Goyf that turn, but you can path it. It's not the end of the world. Next turn, if we have a Think Twice in our hand, we get that first tasty upkeep mana. Think Twice is single blue. Next turn, upkeep. That flashback, Think Twice. It was single blue. Because at that point, now it's making 2 red mana. Next turn comes along. Now I'm going to start getting creative. I'm going to start doing either more Think Twices, or I'm going to start... now you've got 3 red that already pays for a Colonnade activation. 3 red pays for the colorless component of Colonnade. Maybe we're going to get creative and start utilizing our Helixes and Snapcasters and Bolts. All the while, you're not tapping the mana that you should be using for your Leaks or your Remands or your Knots or your Cryptics. Like, like, it feels great, but, like, the Braid is paying for this whole portion of the mana, and I can be free to focus on paying for my paths and my Dispels, my Snares, my Mana Leaks, my Remands, whilst I'm still, like, toasting and burning other things. I feel like something that Blue-White Red suffers from is if your opponent's very aggressive with their creatures, but you also need to be keeping mana open to counter things, you're very torn. You're like, okay, am I supposed to kill this, or was I supposed to counter, like hold up counter magic? Whereas with the Braid of Fire, once this is online, I don't feel torn. I'm like, okay, I kill this, I kill that. I'm still going to counter this relevant spell during your turn. Back to me, I still had leftover mana for the Think Twices. Am I going to go to GP? OKC? I don't know, Capolo. School is now in session, so probably not. But, I don't think so. No, just like once the Braid is online, the deck curves far different than any Blue-White Red I've ever played. The Colonnades, I've easily animated multiple Colonnades with this deck so far. We've taken down Twin twice with this thing. I think both times it was Tarmo Twin, though. Maybe we have a worse matchup against Grixis Twin. We're going to find out. I think Kolaghan's is a very powerful engine. I'm a little worried about the card. I don't think it's nothing we can't handle, though. I'm excited about just... I've never animated 2 Colonnades in one turn. Ever. This is like the first deck that I've ever done that, where I was just like, I'm going to tap 4 lands... I'm going to make 2 4/4 Vigilances. I'm going to hit you with both. So is your game plan to beat green-black X decks? Just try to burn them out. We're still talking about Abrupt Decay. Against Abrupt Decay decks, I guess I'll play a little more like a typical Jeskai. Control, Burnt Glass. I'm not worried about it, because you know what? it's not as much of the metagame as you might think. Burnt glass, abrupt